what Musashi says in the Book of Five Rings is to spontaneously achieve miracles. That's the phrase he uses. You practice to get to mastery so that you can spontaneously do the miraculous. And people think, oh, you're miraculous. But actually, that's that Kobe Bryant shooting 1,000 jump shots every day, all summer, every summer. Yeah. Well, if you're not doing that 3 summers from now, guess what? He's playing a whole different game than you are.
That's your Picasso, right in full circle.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. It's brilliant. We could talk forever. I know for sure. I can tell.
I love it. I got you guys philosophizing on
dude. This is a different tone. I love it too.
You guys are right with it.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Innersleeve, the podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. I'm Cassius Morris. Joe Pacheco joining me on the line as always. What's up, Joe?
Good day today, my man. How are you doing?
Feeling good. It's sunny out. Can't really complain. I'm getting that infectious summer energy, I think. It's getting to me.
I know we're Canadians, so we always talk about the weather, but in Montreal here, we've been blessed. I think the last week, we just finished the Jazz Fest. Now there's the Montreal Just for Laughs Fest, which is the comedy festival. But we just finished the Jazz Fest, and they had probably the first time in years that they've had I think almost every day there was no rain, and beautiful. It wasn't super hot. It was that comfortable 22 to 25 degrees. It was was awesome. Anyways, I went, had a great time with my son, got some music, got a lot of walking done. It was just great to be out there again and just enjoy music outside instead of always being here in my studio. I needed to get out. You taking advantage of anything?
Definitely been trying to get out. We have a lot of different festivals. We had the Art Walk recently here in Edmonton. We have the Fringe Fest coming up. So, July is always cool. And we also have the K-Days. You ever heard of K-Days? It's like a fair.
No.
So it's similar. Calgary has the Stampede, so we have our competition K-Days. So we have some musical artists coming, and you never know, maybe a little scoop for SoundMojo if I get to swing down there. We'll keep you guys updated on that one. Today's guest on the podcast is none other than John Orpheus, a super talented singer-songwriter who joined us to talk about, well, at first it was going to be a short interview, Joe, but this ended up being its own standalone episode, which I love.
Yeah, it's a doozy, man. We're supposed to just talk to him about a couple weeks back for the Global Toronto, right? Global Music Toronto. And it's it ended up being 45 minutes of philosophy, some really deep discussions. If you're into that kind of stuff, definitely stick around and watch the whole thing.
100%. It's always cool to chat with an artist who is deeper than just, what's your new album? Tell us about the new single. Of course, we want to hear about that, and that's part of why we're here. But it's always cool to hear an artist who's interested in diving a little deeper. And it seemed like It seemed like you and him really hit it off too, Joe, because it seemed like you guys had sort of a like-minded thoughts in certain ways.
Yeah, I guess we've read the same books or authors or are inspired by the same sort of, way of thinking and philosophies. But I recognized a lot of stuff that he was mentioning. I'm I know, I read that. I know that guy, so it was funny. I had a great time. And as you could tell, it was just smiles the whole time around. It was just great.
It was a really awesome chat. Shout out to Indoor Recess and all the great folks over there for helping facilitate these phenomenal interviews. We've been having an awesome time doing them. Hopping into some news from the world of music, Innersleeve alumni Nita Strauss is all over the headlines in the world of rock and roll, as she has just announced that she's leaving the Alice Cooper band. But not only that, Joe, she's also canceled all of her solo gigs for summer 2022. This is a pretty big announcement.
Yeah, and this came out of nowhere, right? This is it was announced yesterday, July 11th, and today we're the 12th, and just showing up on my feed, that she's leaving, and it was leaving and not continuing his tour after 8 years with the guy, right?
Yeah, well, she joined the band in, I believe, summer of 2014. And just for some context, they've been touring all throughout 2022. I believe the last show she did with them, they just left Greece, actually, and they had a really awesome lineup of shows. But you're right, Joe, this is sort of sudden in the fact that they're in the middle of a big schedule. It's not like this has been a slow year for Cooper. So I think this really surprised a lot of people because, let's face it, too. There's only so many professional guitarist jobs in the pro touring circuit.
That's 100%, and and she's made a name for herself before Alice, and then I guess with Alice, right? She's made Guitar World's rankings and stuff like that, and she's a great guitarist. She plays for the LA Rams, right?
Yeah.
Every game when she can or when she's in town. And now the rumors are she's, I saw a comment and I was like, wow, but now that I see the article, I was like, oh yeah, maybe there's a chance that she's joining Demi Lovato's touring band, which, I don't want to say is a good move because it's a move, but I mean, to do something so suddenly and and make those and cancel her own personal tour that she had scheduled, right?
Yeah.
She was going to go on a solo tour. So it's interesting, man. What do you think?
Well, she definitely must be making, I'm sure money isn't the issue because it sounds like it's probably similar wherever she's going. I mean, one thing about an artist like Nita is she's very much in demand. Like we're saying, there's only so many people at her level who are the who's who / go-to for session people. I think Tommy Clufato's on the drums is a good example, and Nita on the guitar.
She replaced Orianti.
Yes.
As Alice Cooper's guitar player,
Yeah, exactly, right? Which is a huge one. And, Demi Lovato, interesting to see what they're going to do as well, because, this is sort of a more or less a comeback, and also Demi sort of coming out under a new identity. So, I mean, I'm definitely curious, but, at the end of the day, I just hope that Nita's happy. Having had her on the show, getting to speak with her one-on-one, she was a phenomenal guest, really, really good, honest, down-to-earth seeming person, which is very rare in this business.
And her husband too, right? I remember back and forth, Josh, I think it was, and super responsive and outgoing, to accommodate maybe our times. I don't remember now. It's been a year there, but
no, totally.
It was a great experience. Yeah.
They're phenomenal. So listen, best of luck to the Strauss crew, and we hopefully, we'll see you on the road very, very soon, and we're looking forward to seeing what's next. Hopping over to the world of hip-hop, fans can rejoice. Shady's back. He's back again. Or should I say, guess who's back, Joe? But I messed it up.
Yeah,
Eminem has just announced a compilation record, Curtain Call Part 2, The Hits. Now, for anyone who doesn't remember, which I'd be shocked if you don't, because I think even if you weren't a rap fan when Curtain Call 1 came out, you probably heard Lose Yourself on the radio, and you probably saw 8 Mile. It's hard to avoid. So this was a huge one. So maybe another big, sales effort for Eminem here, Joe, because this could be a pretty big album.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a big album or, streaming. I don't know, in terms of sales and stuff, but I mean, yeah. Definitely, man. I mean,
do they count streaming and sales, by the way?
Yeah. I just don't know the formula or the ratio, but it's a certain amount of streams, don't quote me on this, but I remember reading equivalency in terms of $10 for an album selling at a show was 3,000 and up streams or more, Actually, we spoke about it quite a few times, right? It was 1,200 streams on YouTube to make what? Couple $100 or something.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm just trying to remember it is hard to remember the ratios with all the different services now and all the changes that are still happening. But I mean, I think any way you slice it, this is going to be a pretty big record. And Eminem is just coming off the heels of a collab with Snoop Dogg, as well as a collab with CeeLo Green. We have some of the Snoop Dogg video here showing Eminem and Snoop as Bored Apes, NFTs. This is different for a rap video.
Well, it's probably the Bored Apes that they own, right? They bought their Bored Apes, and now I guess they can animate them and all that stuff. So this is interesting.
I do believe that they were two of the first rappers who actually bought NFTs as well. Snoop Dogg, of course, if anybody's been following this space, probably the biggest celebrity in the meta space, I would say.
I would say, I always say this year, it's he won the year already with the Super Bowl. Even Eminem, right, being at the Super Bowl. Is this a newbie question? Is this a first collab? Because I know Snoop does a lot of features and a lot of stuff, so it can't be the first time these guys do something together, right?
This is not a first, but I'm not sure how many direct collabs they've done. I do know that they had a song on Marshall Mathers LP that had all of Dr. Dre's crew, including Snoop, for a short verse, but this may be the first one that they do just the two of them. Also sort of surprised to see this, Joe, because not too long ago, I think 6-7 months ago, Snoop Dogg viciously attacked Eminem in the form of a YouTube or Instagram video saying he doesn't see Eminem as even a top 10 rapper and he doesn't need him on his playlist.
Come on, really?
That's a little crazy to me, right? Not even top 10?
Come on.
That's insane to me.
Is not a huge rap fan knows that Eminem is definitely rap god, right? Or one of the top 10s. But it's probably just another marketing ploy of let's get the buzz going. Oh my God, now Snoop is going after Eminem, and then it leads to this, right? I mean, it's just a marketing thing maybe.
Well, that's true. That, most of these beefs are pretty much manufactured.
Yeah, and I know that crypto's been down, the markets have been down, inflation, all that stuff. So even NFTs, I saw something just like a headline, but don't only read the headlines, but I saw something like where it was a major 90% drop in NFTs and stuff. So
yeah,
it's let's hope they don't because everybody was always saying 98% of these NFT projects are going to die. I mean, these are the big ones, so
yeah,
it's interesting to see what's going to happen, right? It'll bounce back, I'm pretty sure. Because NFTs and stuff have so much more utility than just buying the actual ape or owning it, using it as a profile picture, right? Like these getting into events, getting into stuff, that's where the NFTs are really going to take you.
Exactly. And, people seem very confident in buy low, sell high, and then they seem to get a little nervous when it actually goes low. But listen, everyone needs to take their own advice. Let's get through the drop and see what happens. But I'm very curious to see the future of this. Hopping into some news from my two long-lost brothers, it appears. I'm not sure if these dudes are my uncles or what the deal is, but they're clearly related. No, French Montana and Drake have teamed up over at Drake's house. This went down on July 11th. In a live gambling stream brought to you by Stake, which is a company that Drake has been working for. But that being said, Joe, this has actually spawned a little bit of questions and criticism around this. People are saying, we're seeing all these videos of Drake making these huge winnings. Here it's reported he won almost $25 million at roulette on this service. But some people are saying it's suspicious because he is on their payroll.
Yeah, but I mean, look, they won in two bets, right? 12.96 million, then another almost 12 million. I don't know.
I wonder what number they bet on, because it says they both bet on the same number.
Yeah, and I wonder what does it take to get into this sort of a party, right? You probably have to pay your 5,000, 10,000 just to get in the table or more, right?
Oh, look at that. So Drake gifted people $25,000 each, personally congratulating them over video call, people from countries including Brazil, England, and Canada. So this dude's just giving money away now.
Yeah, I saw that he gave away $1 million to the winners, not to the winners, to the audience. So yeah, that might be some of it.
That's man. See, we should sign up next time and be on the video call queue. See what he's got. Looks like we have video too of him winning the $12 million bet with French.
I don't even know, but say hi to everybody though.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. This is my brother French. Congratulations. Much love.
You're too rich.
From Brazil. Where in Brazil?
I think my grandmother saw a clip of this and she asked if he was in Vegas. I said, no, Grandma, that's his house.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to ask you. That's his place, man. Yeah,
that's
we saw his
place
on the show. It's nuts. Or one of his places, right?
Exactly, right? I mean, that's the thing about these people's houses. What we see on Cribs or on Instagram is probably not even the whole house. I'm sure there's plenty of parts we haven't seen, but it's insane. But Joe, do you think there's any possibility that this could be fudge? Is there any credence to this theory that maybe this is sort of put on by the company?
Oh, I don't know, man. You would be inviting that, right? Knowing that you're a part owner or whatever, and then you win that much of a payout. Mm-hmm. I would draw way too much attention. So I err, on the side of benefit of the doubt for him, he placed his bet and it's a roulette. I don't know if it's rigged or not. The same number though.
Yeah, I wonder what the number was. It's got to be 6 because that's what he uses to represent Toronto, I guess. But very cool to see him calling people up. And apparently he announced on the stream last night too, folks, if you're a Drake fan, that he's working on another body of work, another album. And he said he's never been more inspired in his life, Joe. So this is going to be Drake season, I think, this summer.
It's interesting. One thing I noticed, I don't see 75 people behind him, his entourage. I don't know what's behind the camera, but it's so weird to see that there's another one who popped in. There you go. There's
the guy on the left there is Future, his manager. So not the rapper Future, but the other Future. But yeah, I mean, he seems to. I think a couple guys live with them, and I think they just keep the circle small. And that's one of the most unique things about their whole crew is that it's really the same guys that you saw with him when he was in high school. Hopping over to the comms tab, which is, of course, on the official SoundMojo YouTube. If you've not subscribed already, make sure to go hit that subscribe button. And what's the first question we put up this week, Joe?
Mariah Carey got married to whom in the year 1993? So
in 93.
If you're at the beginning of her career, it would be an easy one. So anyways, we had Nick Cannon, James Packer, Tommy Mottola, and Benny Medina. So the majority of the people, 64%, knew that it's Tommy Mottola back then, which was like a big, I think, was he a CEO or like something?
I think he was the
really big.
Sony guy, pretty sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like a big name in the industry. And then obviously she got married, right, to Nick Cannon later on, I believe.
Yes. So did she marry all of these people, or were there like wrong answers?
I am not sure.
Okay, because I only knew of Nick and Tommy, so maybe it was like a trick question for the other two.
Yeah, same here. I think so.
Well, you guys let us know in the comments as well when you go to our next one. If we made a mistake, let us know. But we have a couple comments here.
Well, we have one here. GameX Simmons. Nick Cannon was 13 in 93, so she didn't marry a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I should hope not.
I like the way he thinks.
Here we asked, have you ever missed a concert by your favorite artist because of ticket prices? And I think this is a phenomenal question, Joe. We also asked people on Twitter and Instagram what we thought the most reasonable concert prices would be at this point, and most people said $100 or less.
Yeah, that's coming in the next one, but this was just more like, I myself, I've missed, let's say, like Roger Waters, right? Like I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. I would have gone and see Roger Waters, but hey, $500 a pop or whatever it may have been. I'm like, I just can't. I have a family, and it's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's just also of a principle. But I mean, if it was David, like I did catch David Gilmour, and that was like $100-something bucks. Like it was reasonable, man. Anyway. So there's that. So we had some comments here from Ken Ulozis. For sure, back when I was a poor college student, I missed 9 Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson opening up because I couldn't afford it.
Oh.
And actually, it's funny. Roger Waters, somebody, same thing. Me too.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Same here.
Exactly. That's what I wrote. Same here, man. Like another tour is happening, so I'm trying to get the money together, but it's insanely expensive.
How did I get my Roger tickets so cheap? I got tickets for like $60 a couple years ago.
Man, connect me with that guy who got you.
Yeah,
those
you should
tickets.
come to Edmonton. Maybe it's cheaper at Edmonton, but I mean, even looking at the Motley Stadium tour, which is coming here, it's $500 to sit on the roof, guys. So I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. We asked you guys how much you'd be comfortable spending to see your favorite artist live in concert, and I don't think the results are too shocking.
No, I mean, I put $100 as a cap off because I'm thinking, like that's. I mean, sure, you're gonna, I've seen shows for $50, $60, $80, but like by the time you get there, you buy some food or a drink, it's $100. Right?
And if it's 2 people, even it's $100.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. So like that's why I put that as a cutoff. But it's funny, is interesting that a couple of people said ideally $100. Even some people said $100 is too low, much less than $100. Right? Dale Anderson, much less than $100.
Wow.
We have Ex Mumo, 200, or maybe more. $100 as the lowest, you see, here again, and like up to $100, so some people have definitely missed their, look, the nameless Gula. Thanks again, buddy, for for participating. Yeah, I've spent $300 before, but $200 is not too bad. I consider a concert to be a once in a lifetime experience of the bands I appreciate the most. There are only 2 bands that I've seen more than once live that weren't locals, so Ghost and Deathlock.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Deathlock, I don't know.
Yeah, me too. But like, I definitely like agree with him in the sense that like, I guess I've been to so many shows that to me, it's just like, it's just another concert kind of thing. Like, but yeah, I guess if you definitely want to see the artist at least once and it's a one in a lifetime thing, it makes sense. Tarabara. I only picked 100 because it was the lowest amount. 100 for me would include a ticket to the concert, a commemorative t-shirt, and maybe a drink or a snack if I had anything left over.
See, like you're saying.
I don't know where it is there, but I mean, you must be like in the early 2000s maybe for that kind of experience.
He's in a time machine writing this comment.
But I mean, I have seen one of my favorite bands, like I mentioned last week on the show, Dredge, for like $13. It cost me $13 to see this band, So I mean, yeah, there are possibilities like that, but good luck if you can find them.
Yeah, it is really hard. And for anybody who really wants those cheap tickets, my advice as a concert goer, and Joe will definitely agree with this, I think, try to get them last minute. If you can handle the anxiety of not having tickets to your favorite artist until the last minute, I actually managed to snag a ticket for Tool, and I think with taxes and fees, Joe, it was $1,750. And that was the day of the concert.
Oh, the day of the concert. Yeah. Well, it's like flights, right? If you want to fly last minute or you want to wait, yeah, you can get some.
If you can handle the anxiety, but most people, including me, like it's like, oh, I don't have my tickets. What if I don't get them? But yeah, the day of, whew.
What are the here? Donald Fagan, not Donald Fagan. Ideally, $100 for 200 in the right circumstance. It's also probably going to be like a 6 to 12 month waiting, so you won't feel the pain after once you're at the show, right?
We need a finance plan like some of these music festivals. And I think that's a good idea, by the way. Some of these festivals, they say, give us $60 a month for the next 6 months. That's not a bad idea either.
It's not a bad idea.
This one here might be my favorite of the week, Joe, because this girl, I aspire to have this level of self-confidence. 100%. And I love what I'm seeing. We asked you guys, do you like to play karaoke? And what's your go-to song? We got a bunch of answers to this one.
Yeah, I go to karaoke at least, Nameless Gula. I go to the karaoke at least once a week. So for the song tends to change depending on his throat and the mood of that day. So Kiss Them For Me by Sushi and the Banshees. Hold Back the Tears, Simply Red. That's a ballad, bro. You know, you're gonna get the spotlight on you for sure. Lodi by CCR. I love anything by CCR.
Oh yeah.
Just Another Day by Boingo. Sorry, and Rats by Danse Macabre.
Oh, Rants. These are all. I think there's 4 ghost songs at the end.
Yeah, you're right. Rats. Yeah, okay, that's it. Rats. Yeah, that's my bad. Rats, Danse Macabre, Square Hammer, and Circe, I guess.
Some interesting names, but the one song I know there is Rats. That's a really cool song, and definitely that reminds me more of like a Lordy type of vibe, but coming from Ghost.
Guttural Reef, Hey Jealousy by the Gym Blossoms. That's a cool song. Do you know that song? Are you familiar with that one?
No, this one I have to check out. Hey Jealousy.
Yeah, it was a big hit in the 90s.
Okay.
So it's like a 90s band. Here said, I love it, terrible at it, but I love it. And then we have Ken Ulozas. Not for me either watching it or doing it. To be honest,
hey, that's fair.
I've not participated myself personally because I'm a wuss when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I've been at a few and it's funny. Obviously, it's hilarious. You?
I think at home, my day-to-day walking around the house could be considered karaoke. Whether it's Guns N' Roses, whether it's, Eminem, I'm usually singing along.
I'll make stuff up with whatever the last couple of words somebody said, and I'll start breaking into a song. And it's funny because I hate musicals, but I totally do that when people say something, and I'll just Frank Zapp it. I call it in my head, just make a song out of the last comment,
I love that. But definitely, I can see what you're saying, Ken. A bad karaoke night at a bad bar, yeah, I'd rather sit in silence. I can see what you're saying.
But she looks like she would be killing it.
Oh, she's having a great... I would pay more than $100 to see her. We absolutely love reading all you guys' comments. And real quick, if you have any artists that you want to suggest to us, maybe somebody we should add to our playlist, definitely let us know. And it looks like Joe found a good one from last week's comms.
Somebody mentioned Twin Temple in one of the polls or community tabs that we did. And I was curious, so I definitely went and checked it out. And they mentioned it was satanic doo-wop. So
I can see by the titles, they may be onto something there.
Yeah, that's it. Right? Like satanic orgy and stuff like that. Yeah, because it's got a bit of that, like, I guess 60s, 70s twangy guitar vibes, retro. It's not doo-wop per se where it's like people singing like that, but it definitely got a vibe. It's very interesting, and it's right up my alley. So I like this kind of stuff. So like, it just hit me like, wow, maybe we should get, what are you listening to this week kind of vibe. Like maybe we can, once in a while mention what we're listening to or new discoveries, right? And like this was a great discovery for me. So we always appreciate the audience, writing us, messaging us, check out this, check out that. So we'll be putting, keep the lookout on the community tab, and we'll ask a question, any new, what are you listening to? Any new, whatever you'd like to see us maybe review or react to on the show,
Now we're going to hop into our conversation with the one and only John Orpheus. As we mentioned off the top, this conversation was so cool. We always love when we say, we'll do 15, 20 minutes for their time, and the guest wants to stay longer and chat with us. Because speaking for myself, Joe, I could talk all day to these guys. They're so cool, the guests we end up booking.
Yeah, many times I've stayed on the call after, and like get to know each other a bit better or find out what they're working, whatever it may be. The conversation just keeps going, right? And same thing with like John. It was just a pleasant surprise, man. I felt like I made a friend, at the end of the day, right? At the end of the interview, like I have a feeling like, not that, like pick up the phone, call him up, let's continue the conversation kind of thing,
No, exactly. He's a super cool guy, and we really hope you guys enjoy it. We're going to jump back right afterwards, and if you do, make sure to connect with John on all of his social media. We have his links in the description below, and we'll catch you guys right after the interview.
But yeah, we're live. We're good to go, man. I appreciate you taking the time and coming to chat with us.
Are you kidding? Look, I'm a fucking Megadeth fan. Can I cuss? Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Megadeth fan. You have Marty Friedman on the podcast. I was like, yo.
That was one of the wildest ones yet.
Yeah. And I'm like, and Daniel Lanois, I'm like, I mean, I was like, who? No, I'm kidding. I was like,
and now John Orpheus.
Yeah, now you got me.
Full circle.
Well, welcome to Innersleeve. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So, I mean, what's going on with you over in Ontario right now? How was rehearsal? I know you've been doing a lot of different stuff.
Oh, man, we flexing. I just got back from England, played a couple of shows, Manchester, London. My girl's is from England, so visited with her and her fam out in the English. It's spelled Derbyshire, but it's pronounced Derbyshire.
Okay.
And so I was just hanging out in England, just chilling. And so much going on. Making a new record second half of this month. Finishing a new book on the end of the summer. Working on a children's book and a book of essays. I kind of became a journalist accidentally. I had all these thoughts rattling around my brain about the Ukraine war and just like why we were going over there to fight. And I wrote them down, and the Toronto Star was like, this is amazing. And they published it. And now I'm getting offers to do that as well. So interesting, but mostly I'm here for the rock and roll.
I hear that. Yeah. And I actually saw that piece online there when I was looking into you. And I'm curious, I mean, what exactly, do you see yourself doing with that moving forward? I mean, do you see yourself writing more, or do you want to maybe put it in your music?
Yeah. Cassius, I see it as, to me, it's all just one thing. It's kind of like, it's like I'm telling stories, and I might tell it in a music or a children's book or a memoir or an article. But to me, that message and that philosophy and that way of being, it's just one thing. It's just me.
Yeah. No, that completely makes sense. So, I mean, how about in terms of your upbringing? I mean, maybe if we can take it back a little bit, talk about your roots in Trinidad. I'm curious about that. I mean, what are your memories of that time, and maybe how long were you in Trinidad before actually leaving?
Yo, for sure, man. Thank you for asking. I lived there till I was 11. And so I've lived in Canada for much longer, but Margaret Atwood has this great phrase about the place where you learn to see, and about how you never lose that connection with it. And so in my heart, I still see those places. I still dream those places. It shaped and formed me. And in terms of how, I feel like my upbringing was dominated by my grandmother, who raised me, and she taught me two things. She taught me how to read and how to sing. Wow. She liked to read like the really poetic parts of the Bible. And when I was 3.5, she was like 85, so her eyes were bad. So she taught me how to read so I could be her eyes. So wow. And this kind of really evocative, poetic stuff. And then she was always singing. And so she was the first performer I really engaged with. And well, now I'm a writer and a singer. So that was a really big impact. But the second big character was the bush, the country, the landscape, right? Like the landscape, when you grow up in really intense landscape, it kind of shapes your mind a bit. And so I grew up in like a tropical rainforest. So, unlimited rainfall, unlimited sunshine, big insects, big birds that eat the insects, big snakes by the riverbed, crocodiles crawling around, monsters. Wow. But just that teeming, like overflowing life, right? That's kind of how I live, and that's the corner of my philosophy. So that's what growing up in Trinity was for me.
Interesting. I mean, that, it makes me think of Barbados. A big portion of my family's from there. So, I mean, definitely. Yeah, Caribbean vibes.
Asian?
But
Oh,
I know
gosh.
Trini has a lot more like you're saying, a lot more different wildlife. Like we definitely don't have alligators or crocodiles in Barbados.
Yeah. But yo, I be going to Barbados regular. Crop over
Nice.
is my scene. That's my
Yes.
jam. That's my
100%.
jam.
Have you ever tried to perform around Crop Over? Because I know they have a festival too.
Yeah, no, I've never performed it around crop over, but yeah, I just love it because Caravana is a little bit too Canadian and Trini Carnival is a little too crazy. So crop over is like that nice in between.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, totally.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, so how about the scene in Trinidad? Was it one of those things where it was your family that was musical, or was it a lot of outside influence as well that was very musical for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, Caribbean people. I mean, basically, I feel Caribbean people are it's in our DNA to be poetic, to be musical, to be performers. I feel like if you hear a Caribbean person tell a story, it's like you'll get three different accents. They'll sing a song. There'll be drama.
Maybe an impression.
There'll be an impression or two. There'll be a cliffhanger and a satisfying ending.
That's it.
That's so I was shaped by that. I grew up around that. I grew up watching, like just Caribbean people and the just demonstrativeness, and Trini's especially are like that, but also Trini preachers were kind of the first performers I saw. Now, if you're religious, you might say, well, that's offensive to call it a performance, but I think when you spend your life performing, you recognize the signs. There's a stage, there's a microphone, there's an
crowd,
audience, there's a costume, there's music. You're performing, dog. So for me, that was the first kind of performers I saw. And that was kind of how I got my name. It was like, in Trini, when the carnival party is rich and it's pumping, they yell out Bacchanal. And Bacchanal is kind of the most Trini thing you can say. But it's really weird because people say, well, how is a Trini guy called Orpheus? What's up with that? That sounds very ancient Greek, right? Yeah. Or if you're uneducated, you think it's the Matrix, but no.
Right.
But Bacchanal stands for Bacchus and Bacchanalia. So Bacchus is the Roman god of wine and song. And that's where that comes from. And Orpheus was like the high priest of Bacchanalia and was a musician. And then John is because the first performers I saw are preachers. So when I perform, that's kind of the energy I'm bringing. I'm not preaching, but that's my energy. And my great grandfather was a famous preacher. His name was Johnny Richardson. And so I didn't want to call myself Johnny Bacchanal. So it's Johnny.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So there was a pretty deep meaning behind it. I mean, it seems to me like,
I don't know if it's deep. It just felt really natural to me. It just felt, I wanted to connect. Like I said, the place you learn to see, hard to shake that. And so I knew that was my core. So whatever music I was doing, I wanted to ride for my family and for that combination of Bush and grandmother and Caribbean that made me. And so that's what the name comes from.
Well, they say the first 5 years of your life, right? We learn we never learn like those first 5 years. So it's only normal that it's so ingrained in us. Yeah. Even if like you left after 5 years, you would still probably have the same memories or feelings,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I really believe in that. Even as when I'm creating or I'm writing, and I've been writing children's books about a character called Little Tony that's based on me in Trinidad. And so exactly that time in my life, I'm literally climbing mango trees and I'm 6, right? So, yeah.
Mama, I'ma miss you. And your oceans of smiles, Mama, I'ma miss you. And the songs in your eyes, oh, Mama, I'ma miss you. Like the rain missed the place, I will miss you. until I see you again.
What's it like approaching publishers compared to approaching music people or labels?
Woo. Yeah, dog. That's a great question. So in a way, it's the same structure. Okay. You have a creator that creates a product. There are agents. There are labels. The label is the publisher. The publisher basically does the same things a label would do. Like they do marketing, they do physical production, they do distribution. The artist still has to go out and promote it. So it's structured the same, but I think the changes that change the way the music business is a little more cutthroat. Like there aren't really these 360-degree like 8-album contract kind of thing. Slavery contracts, those don't really exist. And a lot of the digital disruption that happened with music never really happened with books. Like it happened with ebooks, but if you're a book lover, you want to hold the physical book. You don't want to, like most book lovers, or so right now it's like, yeah, like I can tell you this. I mean, but my memoir, Saga Boy, on Penguin Random House, like there's about, I think, 12% audiobook, 3% ebook, and all the rest is physical copies. And so really, because of the romance with the physical book, the way it feels, the way it smells, the weight of the pages, if you're a book dude, you love that stuff.
Yeah.
And because of that, it never lost the romance that I think the music industry maybe had once or maybe never. And as a result, the spirit of how it moves is different, but actually the structures of it is almost exactly the same. There's an equivalent for everything in the music industry on the book side of the house.
I would equate, let's say maybe as you were talking, I was thinking, I'm like, I would probably equate it not as successfully, but like sort of like almost like vinyls, right? They never really left. They're still around, and now they're coming back strong, right? But not like books. Books has always been. It's interesting because Amazon was supposed to get rid of books, right? It was supposed to be
and ebooks. Kobo was supposed to end books,
right?
And it's
even
like,
newspapers suffered more. It seems like
newspapers took a bigger hit from the digital onslaught, but books. Again, you see, the thing about it is, and I think you're right, Joe, the closest thing music had to that romance was the LP, right? Because you had the big cover art. And, I was just down at Link's Music rehearsing, and they got a whole wall of like beautiful album covers, the LP, like Bowie and Peter Gabriel, Tina Turner. And it's just so beautiful watching that art. And that was the last time we had that kind of tactile romance with music. After that, like a CD, I mean, we loved the music that was on it, but nobody had a romance with compact discs.
Yeah.
Right?
You're fighting the skips mostly.
Yeah, exactly. So it was easy to get rid of that. But in books, it's just like, that. And I think it's about tactileness, right? It's about the experience of feeling it, holding it. Like I'm sitting in my library right now. And so I have there's about 200 books here and about 300 books here. And on my table, books are everywhere. But it's like you just feel the page. You can smell it. The weight of it, like that kind of sensory experience. Music never had that in terms of the way it was delivered. And so that's why it was disrupted more easily by digital than books were.
Plus a book is an investment, right? You got to look at it, read it. That's why maybe the audiobooks, sure, people will go for a walk or a jog and they'll listen to it, but it's an investment, right? It's not like a 45 minutes and it's done. You're looking for the next album, So
right.
That's kind of what it is,
Yeah, that's for sure. Like a book is a commitment of time. And I think that intimacy of it is really like, I did an audiobook. I did my audiobook. I performed it myself. And And it's an experience. It's a dope experience, which is a new way of interacting with a text. Because, you know, some people are auditory learners, some people are visual. So I tell people, get the audiobook. If you're not a reader, like I can sit and read 200 pages in a day and I love it. But most people don't have the time or, you know, the inclination, you know what I mean? So it's really interesting learning the different mediums for sure. So I love that question.
Do you get crossover from people who have read your book and the music? Like, do people?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, not everybody's into heavy metal. But if you write a great biography or a great memoir or a great story, it's a way wider audience is what I've learned.
That's true.
I've always been independent as a musician. I just signed with the Confidence Emperors for my last album, Saga King. But I've always been independent, whereas on the book side, I'm with Penguin Random House, which is like imagine if all the labels became one label. Then that would be Penguin Random House in the book world. Right. Like they publish 60% of the books in the world. So it's kind of like I'm with this big juggernaut. But the truth is they're just filled with really great people who love books, who care about it. And that's what I mean. It takes me back to the 60s, like when you hear about them signing Bob Dylan, but giving him like 3 albums to figure it out. You know what I mean? Which is like nowadays, it's like
unheard of.
You got 3 minutes, dog.
Yeah. 3 seconds.
Taking a chance, you know? Taking a chance with an artist.
Yeah, the artist and the artistry are really respected in the book world, even with the big publishers. And so, you know, I just haven't had that experience. And maybe that's just me, but I haven't had that experience in music. But there's also that performative element of music where it's like engaging and in your face. It's 3-dimensional. It's vibration. When you're in a room and you feel some great music vibrating or playing it live, it's just like, I mean, it's so immediate and intimate and just transformative, like instantly. And, you know, you got to read English and be into reading English to read my book. But I could drop a song that it doesn't matter where you're from. If that beat hits you, it's going to hit you. Right.
Exactly.
And so music is a more universal language, I would say, because it's just vibration and sound. And, you know, we learned that in the womb. So, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. But
no, it absolutely does. It's more of an inherent thing. And also it sounds like the people are more coming from a genuine place in the book world, because it seems like there's a lot, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot less of the motivations that there is in the music business that seem to be superficial sometimes. You know, there seems to be a lot of people motivated by money, fame, and or both. Whereas in books, I'm sure it's a lot more passion.
Well, I think the bar is, I think there's equal parts passion, but and there's people faking it and posers in books as well. It's just harder. Like, because dog, look, if you can to write a book is a non-trivial investment of energy and time and know-how. So it's really hard to fake that. Yeah. Like if you don't love it, you can't really do it unless you hire a ghostwriter. Whereas in music, I mean, anybody can scribble down 2 rhymes and buy a beat off the internet and just be like, and put up an Insta account and swag out, and it's like, oh, you're an artist, you know? And so I think it's not that there are more or less people who are in it for the wrong reasons. It's just easier in music, if you're in it for the wrong reason, to present yourself as an artist. Whereas in the book world, like you need to write a book. And I don't know if you ever tried that, but that shit.
Well, how long does it take? Like for a memoir, let's say, how long did that take for you? Or is it taking because you're close to finished?
Yeah, well, my memoir has been out since January 2021. So last year, January. The Pablo Picasso answer is all my life. That's how long it took. But I mean, in terms of actual sitting down writing focus time, a year and a half, a year and a bit. but that's me doing it full time.
Wow.
I did my novel, which I just finished, which hasn't come out yet. It took me 2 years of pretty focused effort, like writing almost every day to finish that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it a challenge to keep yourself going with the music as well? Or is it one of those things that because of how much you love it, it's not a challenge at all?
Such a great question, man.
Thank you.
I'll give you 2 answers.
Okay.
My first answer is that I pretty much, because of the pandemic, it hit right as I was finishing the book. And so I kind of went in. So I was like, well, I was going to do more writing anyway. So you mean I can't, so for me, it was a bit of a silver lining was that I had no distractions and I wasn't on tour 4 months out of the year. So, so I had a lot of time to work and that was beautiful. But, my other answer is that, as they say in Trini, well, they don't really say this in Trini. I say this.
You say it.
But a mango tree doesn't say we had mango last year, so there's no mango this year. Sorry. Every year, mango trees bring mango. So is that discipline or is that something else? I say it's something else and I call it purpose. If I'm doing my purpose, hard, easy, doesn't even matter because I can't not do it.
Right. You're going to do it either way, no matter how it feels.
Yeah. I don't have an option.
I think it's the best I've ever heard it described.
Yeah.
Like, the best way, because it's true. Because like, how many times have we done, like, I know myself, I've done gigs for free because I loved the artist or I loved the situation, right? So I've like, okay, don't worry, don't pay me, I'll do it because I'm going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah. And I think, wow, so many thoughts on that, Joe. Like, yeah, you hit it. Like, for me, I just feel like if I was in this for money, there's way easier ways for me to make money. If I was in this for fame, well, I'm not a household name. So like, there's way easier ways for me to get famous. If I were doing this for any other reason, other than necessity, like Raina Maria Rilke, amazing book, Letters to a Young Poet. He says, if you cannot do it, don't. Because the only reason to make a piece of art is necessity, right? You need to do it. And if you need to do it, then hard and easy don't matter. Difficult and disciplined don't matter, right?
That's so true, isn't it?
It's like they say, like, there's a great, like, I heard it on the podcast I was listening to the other day about podcasts and about, let's say, YouTubers, right? Everybody got into the whole YouTube. Oh my God, let's be a YouTuber. We're going to be successful. And it's like, there's a graveyard of three episode podcasts out there because people don't realize that you got to, first of all, like, you got to love doing this because there's no recognition right away. You know what I mean? It's alone, so it's like, it's exactly what you said, it's, you got to just, if you're going to do it. If not, make sure you like what you're doing. I totally believe if you cannot do it, don't do it. I do the same thing with books, albums. It's like, my producer, Mikey, he'll hit me up like, let's make a record. I'm like, why? I literally have to ask myself, do I need to make an album right now?
Wow.
Right.
Did that change your process at all?
I don't think so. I think it's a refinement of my process. Like I go beyond, I feel like, and not to sound like I'm shrugging off your question, but I feel like it's the same answer as before. I feel like in the presence of your true purpose, even process becomes a malleable thing. I think of one of my favorite books, Miyamoto Musashi, is the Book of Five Rings, which is like, he's a Japanese samurai, medieval samurai, and he duels for a living. And this guy was undefeated and lived to be old. So he was really good. and he says there are 5 steps to mastery. He says in the first step, you are useless with the sword. You don't know anything. You don't know anything at all. So you're useless to anybody. In the second step, you know you're still not good, but you can see the difference between people are good or bad. You can see what you're good at, see what you're not. So there's hope for you. In the third step, you're really good. You're super good. In the fourth step, you're one with the sword. The sword becomes like an extension of your body. And in the fifth step, in the fifth sphere, you don't need a sword at all.
Wow.
That's awesome. I have
And
goosebumps.
That's wild, eh?
So I feel like in terms of process becomes, there's a point where process dissolves into purpose. And if I show up just being, I had the honor of knowing and touring with Liam Gallagher. And me and my friends always talk about, like, I love artistic process and, any kind of art. Painters, I hang with painters more than I hang with writers.
Nice.
And so I love process. And, we were just talking about having something original to say, because there's a lot of groups out there that are just cover bands with their own songs. Like, they sound so much like another band. I was in an Uber last night and The Weeknd came on, and I was just like, wow, like he literally just went out and got Quincy Jones and said, make me sound like Michael Jackson.
He finally did it. He just went all out with it now.
Yeah, he just said, I'm just going to get Quincy because these guys don't seem to know how to do that. And yeah, because Quincy Jones is Quincy Jones.
Of course.
But so it's about voice and uniqueness and just having a thing. And it's like, there are people who are really great and they can learn a bunch of things. And there are people who just have a thing that's theirs and they sort of stick with it. And I asked my homie, Alex Price, dope musician. I said, Alex, what's better? Is it better that we expand and get better at other things? Or is it better that we have our thing that we do, that we just rock better than anyone else? And, obviously the answer is a combination, but you have to have a thing. You have to have something that's unique to you that no one else can do. And I always think about the single-mindedness, the force of nature that is Liam Gallagher. Like, whether you love Oasis or like that music or not, that dude was just, he does him and he brings it with such a swagger and purpose that almost nothing else matters. Like, sometimes I remember seeing shows where this dude would just come out and he would just stand on stage and he would just walk on the stage, and the way he would walk and the way he would, his presence would be, people would just go nuts.
Wow.
Because
just
of
walking.
He would just come out and just, he just swagger, and he's got his Oi Manchester, and it's like the way he just held himself. It was so much presence and so I believe that presence is a manifestation of purpose. And purpose can actually trump process. And so I think that I'm in a stage where I try to manifest that presence, and that becomes the process. Because as long as I'm in that space, it's like, the artist is God in their own space, in that blank page, in that empty track. The artist is the creator. And it's and I talked about the Trinidad bush, like you think about it, what's happening in that bush? Well, it's like life is happening.
Infinite life.
Infinite life.
Yeah.
And again, the mango tree isn't saying I'm done, I'm good, I retire, I'm going to go chill by the riverside and do nothing.
Yeah, after one season.
You live till you die and you're always creating. And it's just this bursting of prosperity and procreation, and the artist's creativity is just a microcosm of that, isn't it?
Yeah,
like that
makes sense.
Yeah, that procreation of life, that's what we do when we create something out of nothing.
It's like casting a spell, so to speak.
Oh, definitely.
Bob Moog, the inventor of the Moog keyboard.
Of course,
Moog.
yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because myself, when I write music, it's the same thing. It's almost like you get into this flow state or a zone. Nothing else matters, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, wow, 3 hours later, like I have an entire song. Like what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he even says, I mean, the guy created the synth that changed pretty much music like forever, but he still said it came through me. I didn't, this came through me, right?
Yeah.
So you're like a conduit. You just got to sit there and like let it come through you.
Yeah. And I'm a athlete guy. Once upon a time, I played ball at a pretty high level, played in university and basketball. And I'm well aware of the places where art and sport intersect. And it's really, both have a lot to do with muscle memory, both have a lot to do with intent, both have a lot to do with deep practice, deep honing of your craft, and both have a lot to do with getting. So when you talk about like, you know, that book Flow, which is kind of, you know, is kind of a cliche, but the book Flow was written when Miel, I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
It's got like 18 letters in it.
Yeah, it's a Hungarian guy.
But he studied like hundreds of thousands of exceptional athletes and artists. And what they describe is that exact state you just described with Moog, Joe, where it's like you forget who you are, where you are, everything. And it feels like you're not doing it. It feels like you're over here watching yourself do it.
Right.
And so it feels like, you know, which is what the Greeks would talk about in terms of the muses, right? Like the Iliad begins with an invocation of the muses. Sing, O muses, of Peleus' son, that killed the Trojans and smoked them on the Trojan shore, or whatever.
And then we get into the war of art and books like that, right?
Yeah, but he starts with an invocation of the muses to sing through him.
Exactly.
Right.
By the way, the name we were looking for was it's hard to pronounce. Chick Sent Me High. The guy's name was Chick Sent Me High.
Can you spell it? I want you to spell it.
Okay, let's see if I can go here because I remember that name and I heard like, you know, listening to I listened a lot
he's a genius.
Yeah, I listen a lot to Stoicism, Ryan Holiday, right? And he talks a lot about this stuff. But yeah, I had it right here, but I can't seem to.
Yeah, well, that's okay. People look it up. The book's called Flow. And yeah, absolutely. And I believe in that Stoic. You know, I read Aurelius every morning for exactly this Epictetus as well, for exactly this. It's like this idea that, you know, we're here to do a thing. So just get up and do it. Like, forget all the trivia and all the drama. Just get up and do your purpose. Like, because the mango tree is not sitting around going, hey, you know, I don't know. I feel like I've done the mango thing. Maybe I should do the bananas.
What are the stocks looking like today, you know?
Yeah, right. Reading the paper. Like, I think I want to do pineapples this year, you know?
I think it was the Buddha who said, like, the biggest illusion is that we think we have time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like, you just get it done, do it, you know, like all the overthinking. It's like, I've seen so many musicians, artists in general get stuck, myself included, get stuck on one thing. And it's like, I learned early on is like, okay, put it aside, move on to something else, and then eventually it'll come back or not, right? It probably just wasn't meant, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny Beats has a dope YouTube channel and he's a producer, and he just brings in artists he knows, and they just make a song in one episode. So every episode is making a song, like kind of off the top, like on the spot. And so he gets in like Doja Cat, like back when she wasn't famous, and like just all these artists coming through. And when they go in the booth, there's a big neon sign at the back. It says, "Don't overthink shit." And that's the mantra of the show, is that you just come in. If you feel it, jump on it. If you're not feeling it, on to the next
thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you don't get stuck in that moment. And I feel like a lot of the Stoic philosophy is about not getting stuck. Is to quote Tyler Durden, if you know Joe, you know what I'm talking about.
Tyler
Fight Club.
Durden. Who is Tyler Durden?
Yeah, Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club. He says, you know, it's about the ability to let what truly doesn't matter slide. And I feel like that's what stoicism really is. And I feel like when you do that, that's the creative space that you want to get to create the flow state. You want to actually have everything, the palette just clear, so that all you're doing is purpose.
Exactly. I often tell myself, just get out of your own way. Just get out of my own way.
Yeah. So much of craft and practice is the ability to just get out of your own way. So much of craft is that. It's like, I want to be able to know how to do this well enough that when I need to summon that skill, I can just do it, and I don't have to like get hung up on it. I just can spawn, what Musashi says in the Book of Five Rings is to spontaneously achieve miracles. That's the phrase he uses. You practice to get to mastery so that you can spontaneously do the miraculous. And people think, oh, you're miraculous. But actually, that's that Kobe Bryant shooting 1,000 jump shots every day, all summer, every summer. Yeah. Well, if you're not doing that 3 summers from now, guess what? He's playing a whole different game than you are.
That's your Picasso, right in full circle.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. It's brilliant. We could talk forever. I know for sure. I can tell.
I love it. I got you guys philosophizing on
dude. This is a different tone. I love it too. You guys
are right with it. I love it.
Yeah. I love this stuff. I eat it up. Sometimes I'm like, it's midnight. I go play some video games. I just listen to podcasts, philosophy stuff, because it's like, that's how I absorb. I find like I'm like a sponge, where it's like, if I'm in the room with, let's say, these certain types of people, I'm going to absorb all that knowledge, just by listening, just being in the environment. That's how I find I've gotten everywhere I've gotten. It's been that way.
That's awesome. Phenomenal. John, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we wish you the best for your performance, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. Cassius, Joe, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for having me.
This was awesome, man. We have to do it again. I just love the
philosophy. I feel like we need a book list and a movie list. Just
start a club.
Like all the mentions we had. Like there's a whole list of stuff.
I know we need like somebody to do footnotes in the description of the episode.
Right. We got Raina Maria Rilke. We got Musashi. We got Aurelius.
Chick Sent Me High. We got Aurelius. It was crazy. Yeah, it was awesome.
No, that's beautiful, man. I mean, I could tell you guys are really about growing and expanding your knowledge, and you have to be into that, which is why you do this, because of your love. And so I'm the same spirit. I just happen to play music and write books, but really it's the knowledge and the learning and the growth that I'm here for. So I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you.
I wish y'all a happy mango season.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, definitely. Keep those mangoes growing, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man.
We want to give a huge shout out to John Orpheus for taking the time to join us on episode number 82 of Innersleeve. I got to say, Joe, just all around, the one thing I really respect about John is that he seems like he's very interested in learning new things. Sometimes when people have read a lot of books or they know a lot of stuff, they feel like they know everything. They feel like they've sort of reached the limit of new experiences. And John, it seems like no matter how much he takes in and how much he sort of gets to experience, he still has that hunger.
Yeah, and you can see that now he's like, he's moving into the world, exploring the world of being an author, right? And writing book and stuff like that. And it's interesting, like, not that we planned these trends, but this is sort of what happened here. Last week we had Famusami, right? That was transitioned from, let's say, acting and also dabbing a little in the music. And then with him, it's like he's an artist and now he's writing books and in the publishing world, So it's interesting that like in today, we're seeing more and more people able to sort of explore and, take advantage of, I guess, the fact that like there's other things, creative people are creative, whether it's music, whether it's something else, right? It's like I know myself, like I got bogged down at one point, session after session after session for months and months and months, 7 days a week, working, that I had no time to do my own music. So I took to photography, and I went 3, 4
Yeah.
years, 5 years of photography, right? So like it's just another outlet, another way for you to express yourself.
It's such a great point. You know, it kind of goes back to our last episode again, like you're saying, you know, talking about the similarities between acting and music. And I think you make a great point, Joe. The creative worlds are all a lot more similar than maybe people realize, and that they're sort of intertwined in a lot of different ways. So it's very cool that, yeah, we get to keep delving into different sides of that. And I, for one, definitely really enjoyed it. And we hope you enjoyed it as well. Again, if you liked our guest, John Orpheus, check out all of his links in the description below. And also make sure to check out SoundMojo on all social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. New content every single day, and you guys are not going to want to miss this. Any other artists, Joe, coming up, or comms tabs you want to let the people know about?
No, I think I'm just working on some sneaky stuff here in the background.
Sneaky.
So maybe get them to just come and check out the channel, man.
100%. Make sure to give us
Leave a
that
like.
subscribe.
Exactly. Like, subscribe, all that great stuff.
Hit us also on our audio platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify every single week. If you're typically watching on YouTube and you want to catch the show on the go, at work, at school, make sure to go subscribe on all of those platforms, and we have some nice crisp audio waiting for you there. Thanks so much for checking in to episode number 82 of Innersleeve. We'll catch you guys next week.